What up? It's your boy T-Bear Reaction. Today is Monday. About to get back into some digging the greats as well too. This is going to be back to the Camp Dig series as well too. And like I said earlier, before this, I did a reaction video from Hip Hop Legacy. I said the name right. Hip Hop Legend Archive. Sorry, about 30 underrated DJs as well too, and how some of them was the originator of mixtapes as well too. And we're gonna talk about that. As you know, doing mixtapes, man, you can get away with a lot of things doing mixtapes as well too. Whether it's pushing artists, pushing new artists to get their notes as well too, or making different alternate versions of a hip hop album as well too that's out in the mainstream. One important thing is include mashup version of hip hop, whether it's your own remixes of a hip hop album like Knife One did with Nas Godson, but or a mashup with another album as well too. And this one is one of the early mashup involving Jay-Z before he did the first ever official mashup album with Linkin Park Collision Course though too. And this is with his album, The Black Album. Give me a second real quick. I'm back. So around this time, around 2003, Jay-Z released The Black Album as well too. But later on, well-known producer Danger Mouse will make a mashup with a iconic album from the past by one of the most iconic boy bands of all time, the Beatles, who had an album called The White Album. Put them together in a mashup where it will create the highly well-known mashup mixtape of all time, Jay-Z and the Beatles, The Gray Album. You know, black and white make gray. So anyway, Brian from Brian, I hope I said his name right. Probably fucking around, didn't say his name right again. Hold on a second. Digging the Greats. I always say his name wrong. Digging the Greats. Probably said his name wrong again. I know his last name's Shaw. I always say his damn name wrong every time. Brandon Shaw. Brandon Shaw is going to break down the story behind this title, as it's titled, The Illegal Beatles Hip Hop Album That Went Platinum. So without further ado, let's check it out.
Package their catalog of songs in order to continue their legacy.
Make sure
it could be this.
I make sure I ain't missed nothing. There we go. There we go. Let's go.
Every few years, the Beatles find a new way to repackage their catalog of songs in order to continue their legacy. It could be the slew of recent documentaries. It could be the movies that use Beatles as the score, or the Cirque du Soleil show. It could be re-releasing the Yellow Submarine movie, the Beatles' One album, Let It Be Naked, the Mono Masters. But in 2004, a new Beatles project was released. A hip-hop album that mashed up the White Album by the Beatles with the Black Album by Jay-Z. An album that was illegal, but technically still went platinum. Today, we're talking about The Gray Album by Danger Mouse. Welcome back to Camp Digs, the summer camp where we dive into 6 classic albums in 6 weeks. If you're watching this and you're not signed up, you gotta make the jump. Each week I send out listening notes, an extended playlist, we're all chatting about the album, and then we end the week with a campfire live stream with a food and drink pairing. We started with 90s week with the Tribe album, then it was 80s week with the Beastie Boys album, and now it's 2000s week. Sign up for free at patreon.com/diggingthegreats. Everything is completely free, and the paid tiers get the extended edits of the video with more music and more commentary. Again, patreon.com/diggingthegreats. So, this week, for 2000s week, we are talking about the Gray album. This may not be the cover you're used to seeing. Sometimes it's just gray, sometimes it's the one with Jay-Z and the Beatles behind him. This is a different pressing. I mean, honestly, if you have this album on vinyl, it is not a legitimate pressing. These are all bootleg by definition. We'll get there. But this album is not only the perfect combination of names, between white and black being gray, but the music, also the timing with the internet, and I just love this album. If you know this album, you're very excited that we're getting into this, and then if you don't know this album, I'm very excited to share it with you. But before we talk about the Gray album, we gotta talk about the Black and White. So quickly, here we go. The White Album by the Beatles is technically not actually called the White Album. It's just called The Beatles. But it's an all-white cover with no text or pictures, just the word The Beatles embossed. But this album was released in 1968 and has been known as the White Album ever since. So the White Album came out after Sgt. Pepper, which was a landmark album for so many reasons, but before their final albums, Abbey Road and Let It Be. This is the Beatles in their prime. Did the Beatles ever not have a prime? You gotta think about that one. I mean, they're obviously very different late era as opposed to early era, but this is like somewhere like mid-late era, 1968. Point is, it's a fantastic album. It's a double album of 30 songs that are all amazing. You got songs like Back in the USSR, you got Blackbird, you got Birthday, oh, you got While My Guitar Gently Weeps, you got Glass Onion, you also got Helter Skelter. This is such an incredible album by the biggest band in the world. It's an absolute classic. Now let's fast forward 35 years later and talk about the Black Album. In 2003, Jay-Z released the Black Album, which was advertised as his final album before retirement. Though, yeah, I'm in the Future also, he came back out of retirement and has released like 5 albums since. But at the time, this was gonna be it. Jay-Z was at the top of his career, he was going out on a high note, and he's pulling out all the stops. He enlisted an incredible group of producers, including Just Blaze, Kanye, The Neptunes, Timbaland, Ninth Wonder, DJ Quick, Eminem, Rick Rubin. This list is absolutely insane. Jay-Z is at the top of his game. And these producers are at the top of their game. The Black Album, it's got.
And you remember the story with Ninth Wonder about him introducing Fruity Loops when he made a track on Jay-Z album as well too. So
songs like Dirt Off Your Shoulder, Public Service Announcement. Oh, you got What More Can I Say? Never been a this good, but this long, this hood, oh this pop, this hot. You got Encore. Can I get an encore? Do you want more? Cook and roll with the Brooklyn. You got 99 Problems. But a bitch ain't one. I got the Rat Patrol on the Cat Patrol.
Alright, hold on a second. I got a phone call. Let me take this real quick. I'm bad. Let's keep going.
If you're doing Camp Digs, you've been listening to both of these all week. You know what I'm setting up here. Anyway, rapper at the top of his game announces retirement album with a group of super producers, but then he does something even better. He releases an a cappella version of this same album, encouraging people to make their own remixes. And now we get to Danger Mouse. Brian Burton, aka Danger Mouse, is a musician and producer who had seen some success getting signed to a label. He put out a series of remixes and collaborating with other artists. Like his album with Gemini the Gifted One was released in 2003, the same year as the Black Album. And while Danger Mouse wasn't on the list of Jay-Z's super producers, he did get his hands on a copy of the a cappella version.
I was just cleaning up my room listening to the Beatles, something I do at least once or twice a week. It just hit me. I had the Black CD, the Black Album in my hand, like I was cleaning up, and I was listening to it, and I thought to myself really quickly, it was like, I could do this. I could do this. This is the crazier things that have been done. This was never supposed to be anything more than just me seeing if I could do it. You know, I do challenges like this for myself all the time. You know, this is not anything really that new to me. This is the first time I guess used the Beatles and Jay-Z though. So here we are, I guess.
Using exclusively the White Album and the Black Album, Danger Mouse created the Gray Album, which is a mashup album that takes two very opposite things the Beatles and Jay-Z and mixes them together. It's a rapper in his prime rapping over some of the greatest music ever recorded. An album that could never exist.
Hold on a second, real quick. I'm back. Let's keep going.
Together. It's a rapper in his prime rapping over some of the greatest music ever recorded. An album that could never exist legitimately. The samples would be too expensive. But Danger Mouse meticulously combed through the White Album, grabbing instrumental sections, individual kicks, snares, guitar riffs, bass lines, and anything he could to make a new track for Jay-Z to rap over. I just think it's wild to have so many legendary producers on the Black Album. Then here comes Danger Mouse to throw his hat in the ring.
Right.
But the hat is one that he made himself by folding up the sleeve of the White Album. This metaphor fell apart, but you get what I mean. Okay, so check this out. Remember What More Can I Say by Jay-Z that we just listened to? Danger Mouse mashed that up with While My Guitar Gently Weeps.
Wow.
Never been a nigga this good for this long, this hood, or this pop, this hot, or this strong, with so many different flows. This one's for this song, the next one I switch up, this one will give it up.
Here's Jay's encore mixed with Glass Onion by the Beatles.
Wow. And then I get an encore, do you want more? Cook and roll with the Brooklyn boys, so for one last time I need y'all to roll. Now who you know fresher than Ho? Riddle me that. The rest of y'all know where I'm lurking at. Can't none of y'all mirror me back. Yeah, hear me rappers like Angie rapping his prime.
Or here's 99 Problems mixed with Helter Skelter.
I got the rap patrol on the cat patrol.
That's a perfect mix right there.
My cask is closed. Rap critics to say he's money cash holes. I'm from the hood, stupid. What type of facts are those?
Now, to be fair, not all of the songs on the Grey Album are perfect. Some are great. These ones that I just played are some of my favorite. Others are a good idea but don't quite hit like the others. But this concept, taking the Beatles and Jay-Z, the biggest band of all time, mixed with one of the biggest rappers of all time, but mashing them up together in a way that preserves both, it sets my brain off because I'm recognizing both things simultaneously. If you follow this channel for a while, you know I love making mashups, and I gotta be honest, this album, this is a huge reason for that. I love the idea of taking two separate songs and making them work together simultaneously. I love that feeling, just realizing that they both click. And for me, as someone who loves a wide variety of music, from hip-hop to rock to funk, jazz, classical, I love it when someone takes two seemingly opposite things that shouldn't go together, and they show us that, oh yeah, we're on the same team here. This is all music. Okay, so Danger Mouse makes this mashup album, but obviously he's not going to be able to get this thing released. We've talked about the who, we've talked about the what. Now let's talk about the when. The Grey Album was from a magical time known as 2004. If you aren't old enough to remember 2004, let me tell you what a beautiful time this was. Smartphones didn't exist. I mean, we had phones, but you had to be careful to make sure you didn't text more than your 200 allotted messages for the month. Otherwise, your phone bill would be through the roof. Free nights and weekends only applied to your minutes, not your texts. In 2004, Instagram didn't exist. YouTube didn't exist. Facebook was created in 2004, but it was for Harvard students only. TikTok? Obviously not. What did we do all day? Well, some of us listened to music. We would listen on our iPods, on our mini disc players, you remember those? Or our CD players. So Danger Mouse wants to distribute his Grey Album, not to sell it, not to make money, but because he's so excited about it, he wants to share it with the world. So he does two things. He burns 3,000 copies of the album on CD and starts handing them out, and then he also makes it available as a free download on his website. Yeah, we still had websites, alright? And that version of the internet, man, if you weren't there, it was just better than what we have now. No algorithm, just a bunch of people sharing stuff. Stuff like the Grey Album. As this album started to spread, either in CD form or digitally through his own website, Danger Mouse began to garner some attention. People were raving about this album, the concept, the execution. Even Paul McCartney and Jay-Z weighed in. Paul saying he loved the tribute, and Jay-Z saying he was honored to be on songs with the Beatles. You know who wasn't happy? EMI, the
Of
Beatles
course.
record label. They hit
course.
Danger Mouse with a cease and desist letter.
Of course, EMI is the reason why a lot of the mixtapes has stuff like this, and probably the reason why Canon and DJ Drama got in their got their little legal issue that literally led to an arrest in jumpsuits,
demanding that he stop distributing the album immediately. Which, on the one hand, I get, like it's an unauthorized Beatles mashup album, and they're in the business of protecting the Beatles' legacy. But on the other hand, Danger Mouse isn't selling the album, he's just offering it for free. Are we saying he can't make free art for the world? That it's illegal to go even near the Beatles for a free project? Danger Mouse just wanted to create great art and put it out in the world, and he even owned up to the Beatles label.
I eventually got a letter from my cease and desist letter, and I called them up when I got the letter and told them what I had done and all these things, and because I never really tried to hide that I used the Beatles.
Well, he took the download off his website and stopped giving away CDs. But remember when I said the 2004 internet was a better internet? On February 4th of 2004, in protest of EMI, nearly 200 websites participated in Grey Tuesday, offering the Grey album as a free download and calling attention to dysfunctional sampling laws. And yes, many of these sites received their own cease and desist letters, but this whole fiasco brought so much attention to this project, it's estimated that over 1 million copies of the Grey album were downloaded. And one of those copies was from me. But yes, the illegal Beatles Jay-Z mashup album that the label tried to squash ended up going, sort of platinum with over 1 million downloads, all completely free. EMI's cease and desist letter backfired spectacularly, and the Grey album became an underground internet classic. The next year, 2005, Danger Mouse produces for Gorillaz. Songs like Feel Good Inc. Also in 2005, Danger Doom is released, an album with Danger Mouse and MF Doom. In 2006, Danger Mouse teams up with CeeLo Green for Gnarls Barkley. You know the song Crazy?
Yep.
That's Danger Mouse. The Black Keys, Beck, Norah Jones, U2, Adele, A$AP Rocky, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Kid Cudi, MGMT, all artists that Danger Mouse has now produced. And none of that could have happened if it wasn't for the illegal Beatles Jay-Z mashup album that is the Grey album. Look, this copy is so bootleg, it's Grey with an A. It's supposed to be with an E. Now it's time to hear from you. Earlier this week on Patreon, I put up a link where you can submit your own story. Whatever you remember about this album, how it makes you feel now, it's time to hear from you.
Yo, so my name is Gerard, and the Grey album for me is a very important find in my childhood. Just to give backstory, when you introduced the album, first and foremost, I lost it. I started running around my house. I started screaming. My roommates are like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, "He's doing the Grey album."
That opening's brilliant. I like the mashup. Had a great song that brings an emotional response out of it. I feel like you feel it a lot better than the actual Black Album's version.
But having this opportunity through Camp Diggs, I actually listened to both albums, and the White Album absolutely grew on me with each track. And it's amazing to hear how DJ Danger Mouse actually put these things together.
It sounds lovely made. It does sound like the work of someone who is super passionate about something and just dying to get it out to the world.
And my favorite song off of the Black Album is What More Can I Say? And my favorite song, as I learned later on the White Album, is As My Guitar Gently Weeps. So hearing As My Guitar Gently Weeps for the first time ever through this album is the reason why I deep dove into the Beatles later. I didn't deep dive into that album, as a kid. The album was pretty long, so I never got into it, but I did listen to Help after that. I did get a chance to listen to Abbey Road after that. And I did get a chance to listen to, I forget the name of, I think it was Revolver.
That's the thing about mashup, they'll make you listen to songs that they mashed up with as well, too, though. Remember when I went to his website after the collision happened, what's his website? They had all the mashup, even like unofficial mashups with Linkin Park and Jay-Z and stuff. They had this joint with Bubba Sparks mashed up with Seven Dust and all that. I am a fan of Seven Dust song after listening to that version. It's pretty cool. So yeah.
Has Eleanor Rigby on it. And I remember falling in love with those songs because it was like, or those albums because it was such a stark contrast to what I was already listening to.
First of all, but when I was 10, I believe, my older cousins, they showed me the Grey Album and Night Ripper by Girl Talk. And I'm going to say 3 days later, I forced my parents to take me to Guitar Center. I got a Hercules RMX DJ controller, and I started making mashups. I was 10 years old, was making nothing but mashups. And then eventually when I became like 13, 14, I downloaded Ableton and started producing. So I really credit Danger Mouse for just, starting that inspiration super early in my life.
So I told my 3-year-old daughter, Danger Mouse. Danger Mouse made an album out of a white album and a black album and made it the Grey Album. And she said, can he make red and blue into purple? And I was like, well, I'll ask Danger Mouse. Now I'm asking Danger Mouse. My daughter wants to know if you think.
The next thing we're doing is the Campfire live stream later this week. We're going to be listening to the Grey Album in its entirety, as well as having a food and drink pairing.
Alright, so yeah, this was definitely a good little behind the scene about the Grey Album as well too, though. I heard, but I never really sat down and listened to it and didn't hear the story behind it and some of the music the match up with it. Some of them definitely went great together as well too. It's probably some that was probably off, but other than that, if you like my reaction, like, share, subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's your boy T signing off. One love.